You
Like,
too.
it's like legit nice to see your face on video. It's the closest it's been to real life in how long?
Over a month?
When did you leave? I can't even remember when you left.
October 20th?
Okay, so a little over a month. If you could sum it up in like 3 words right now, how has it been on the road for a little over a month?
In 3 words?
Yeah.
Um, Interesting, unique, and, uh, trippy? I don't know. It's like, it's definitely its own experience for sure.
Where are you right now? You're in Salt Lake City?
I am in Brighton, which is, like, above Salt Lake City. So I kind of go all over the area, you know? Salt Lake City isn't that big, and I kind of explored it in a day and walked around. And I'm not much of a city person. Like, I will happily walk through it and see all the buildings and all the stuff, and then I'm gonna get the fuck out. Oh, I shouldn't swear, should I? Sorry.
No, go ahead. I actually just drafted an email to my audience telling them like I'm done trying to fit in a box of what I think a business is supposed to look like. So like this is Jacqui. If you like it, cool. If not, go find someone that you like. You know.
Okay,
So
cool.
literally just be yourself.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
we were texting about something the other day, and like I felt like you were in the middle of trying to tell me a story, and I wanted to hear it from your perspective. I don't remember what that story was though. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, so like the 17 thing?
Yes, yes. This whole language that you've co-created with the universe.
Yeah. So, how do I explain this? Okay, so once you're crazy woo woo like us, and you start to pay attention to the universe in a bit of a different way, um, I thought about how I was going to explain all this a few days ago. And when you think about it prior, it like all aligns in your head. And now that I'm saying it, I'm like,
Uh,
uh, uh, uh, um, so the number 17 has always held significance for me.
that's a
Like I
fucking
said,
sign. Oh, that's
like
awesome.
I fucking said, it holds a lot of significance for me. Thank you very much. Um, it's a thing. I don't know how it started, but I don't remember how it started. I don't remember the first time it started, but I feel like the more that I've kind of come to understand spirituality from the side of like the metaphysical and the study of consciousness and not so much like religion, because religion is so it's like just the beginning. Like you got to go beyond that. There's so much more.
Mhm.
Um the world starts to it becomes like a game. It's a game. This world is a game. And
Yes.
I think the basis of it is when your thoughts align with your words, align with your actions. That trio, and like hermeticism talks a lot about it and natural law talks a lot about it. When those three things align, you start to very actively and very quickly co-create with the universe. And it's like, so for me, 17 being a number that I pay attention to and also see as a positive symbol, especially on this trip, especially me being by myself, I think, it's it's kind of gotten insane. Like in the best way.
Can
The
I
other day
ask
I was yeah.
the 17? I remember it when we worked at that festival together, and I think like Steven was at booth 17. Is that around the time it started a couple years ago, or had it been around longer than that?
Before that, yeah.
Okay. So
It's
it's
just
been
ramped up.
sure. Sure. I was
It
just
used
curious
to be
about
less.
how long it's been.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you. Like it's been a long time, but I think the more I pay attention to it, the more often it comes up, and which is part of it, right? Psychologically, we do tend to notice what we watch for.
Right.
So, like, yes, you can explain it away. It's a brain phenomenon. You pay more attention to it, so you see it everywhere. Sure. And I've had somebody do that, and I'm like, "You just don't get it." Like, I'm not gonna explain magic to you, you know? Like, you have to either understand it for yourself or you just think it's a bunch of baloney. So
So
that's fine.
how has it been ramping up since you've been on the road?
So the other day I was in Casper, Wyoming. So I've been moving slowly west. So I started in Illinois. I left October 20th. I'm continuing to work. I work remote and I figured, why not be remote while I work remote?
Someone just asked, which vehicle do you have?
A Kia Telluride. Oh my god, I cannot say enough good things about this car. Do you guys want to see the car? It's kind of a mess, but do you want to see it?
Hell yeah. You're living it, like you're choosing to live in it.
Yeah. So I have like a bed set up and then my little closet. And then behind it, I have like an actual shelving unit in the back there that I can
Mhm.
like store stuff in. And
Okay.
then here's Rubber. Rubber.
Hi,
So
Rari.
there's my pit bull.
Uh-huh.
Scary dog privilege, you know, but she's actually a sweetheart. So me and her cuddle back there every night. And it's been getting down to like 20, 22, 25-ish degrees at night.
Okay.
So it gets pretty cold, but her and I generate so much heat that we don't care at all. It's like this like heat bubble. So that works nicely.
Have you been
But
using the
yeah,
heater?
no, it doesn't plug into my so first of all, the one that Matt gave me is still in my storage unit in Illinois because it was too big.
Okay.
So I never took it with. I used it in the tent and then I put it in my storage unit when I was camping.
Yeah.
Um, and then I got a smaller one, but it doesn't connect to my generator, my portable generator. It uses too much amp, and the one that I have is like a lower amp. But we really haven't needed it. Like I could just turn my car on.
Sure. Sure. Interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's nice.
Tell me again about the number 17.
Yeah. So okay, so I was in Casper, Wisconsin, Wyoming. Casper, Wyoming the other day, about a week ago, before the snow hit, and I was driving to um the North Platte Reservoir, which was about an hour south. Yeah, I started so okay. I went from Casper up north a little bit to go see the Aries Bridge. I'm pronouncing that wrong. But there's this natural bridge. The park ended up being closed, so I went this way and then I had to go past Casper to go another hour. So like I drove for a while. And it was ridiculous. Like it went from I would see it on a mile marker to I would see it on an exit to I would see it on the time to I would see it on the mileage left to I would see it on my RPMs to I would see it in my mileage like and it was like new different places and I'm not like looking for a 17 like that's
Right.
not my intention at all.
Yeah.
I'm just aware of my surroundings and I'm paying attention. It could be a 22 but I don't see 22s.
Right.
And interestingly enough, like throughout that trip, every time I would like zone out on something, I'd like look at nature and then I'd look at something specific, it would be that number. And then it would do it again and it would be that number. So like throughout the trip, it was like keep going, keep going, keep going. And then beyond that, the other day I was looking for a place to like park up for the night and Walmarts are like the known spot if you're an RV camp van life, whatever. Not all of them are friendly to campers, but most of them are. So I was driving around from Walmart to Walmart because the first one was no good, and then the one that I stayed at, the address was 1707.
Of course.
And then I went to where did I go to? Um, I went somewhere else also for some reason, and oh, the art studio that I went and painted at. I've been looking for art studios because I paint, and it's really hard to paint out of my car, mainly lighting reasons.
Okay.
So I've been looking for studios to go and just like use their space and paint. And I found one out of like the 10 that I emailed, and it was in Suite 170. And I'm like, I'm not making this, you know, but
Yeah.
simultaneously, like, it's like a yes every time, you know? It's been interesting.
As you were talking about that, that reminded me of when I was first like dating Paul. When I first got together with my husband, our anniversary was 24, and then I saw 24 fucking everywhere. And it was the same kind of concept. I wasn't looking for it, but I would just look at a license plate, and the last two numbers would be 24. I'd look at the clock, it would be like 6:24, and it kept coming up. And at that time, I took it very similar. That was like a yes. And I kind of felt like it was my dad giving validation because my dad was already dead at that point. At that point, Paul reminded me of my dad a lot. So it's one of those intuitive things. You just know, like, this is the message that's coming for me through this number. No one had to teach this to me. I couldn't look this up on the internet to figure out what it means, but like, I just know. So I'm going to keep following it. How are you
Yeah.
using it now? Like, now that you've kind of uncovered that it's such a magical number, how are you just, does it just make you happy every time you see it or what?
It's just a Yeah, it's just like support, you know? Like I'm alone. It's just me and my dog. So like it's very easy psychologically to get into a variety of, things.
Mhm.
But I don't let myself, and that's just a constant uh like I'm not alone. Even though I'm alone, I'm not alone because we're never really alone, you know? Once you once you understand your connection to source and to, creation, right? Like what we all came from, and the fact that like no matter what you do, no matter where you go, that's always there. That's what that shows me constantly. So like even though I'm alone, even though I might have moments of like loneliness or melancholy, sadness, whatever, it's passing and I'll be okay, and it's like keep going, this is great, keep doing this. Cuz like I could turn back at any point and be like this is too much, I miss everybody, I want to go back, I want to be held. But I am held. Like I'm held in this way,
Yeah.
It's just a different way to, yeah,
I'm glad you
feel
brought up
support.
the whole like you're alone because that was one thing that I wanted to focus on based on that post that you put on Facebook about that guy who like took a picture of you, and I'd like you to tell the story. But I just want to say out loud that I have chosen to turn the comments off on my live stream because like the disgusting comments that are coming through, because it's two women having a conversation, like I'm a little upset with YouTube, and I'm a little upset at like what is being shown through the internet that people are looking for when they see women talking. So I've just completely turned that off. A lot of inappropriate sexual comments, which is disgusting because we're sitting here talking about life and spirituality. So I wanted to ask you what it's been like in the real world being a single woman. And I know that you put that Facebook post up about how most people are good and that guy just wanted to help you and send you a cool picture of yourself. So how has that been being on your own?
Yeah, these seem like bots or something. Like even the
I
name and
hope
everything. Like
I
what?
hope they're bots.
Because they're not even. It has nothing to do with anything that we're even saying. So
Well,
I
you
don't know. That's
mentioned
weird.
magic, and then someone talked about you give me magic in my pants. So good job, mature. That's how you're gonna get a
Yeah.
long-lasting wife. Anyway,
Yeah. So okay. In general, people just want to be left alone and want to be happy. And they don't give two flying fucks about you or what you're doing or where you're going, whatever. Generally speaking, people are nice. One second. I have not seen people being mean to other people. I have not seen or experienced or had a moment where I was like, I need to stand up for that person. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because like that's a huge thing right now where it's like, oh, people are being marginalized and like, all this social media anger. I haven't seen any of it. So, and every time I've brought it up in like conversation with people, we're always in agreement. It's rarely ever that somebody's like, well, you don't get it because, whatever. They're like, "No, I agree. It's just on social media. It's so weird." It's like this online, and then in real life, people are just chill and just want to be left alone again. Um, and they're nice. Like, if they do reach out to you, they're helpful and nice and kind, and they like, multiple people. So, okay, I, um there's kind of two sides to this coin. Like, I've been on Hinge here and there, mainly as, like, a way to, meet people going from place to place. I'm not trying to, like, it's not hookup culture. I'm not like a fairy trying to hook up with a bunch of people on my ride, because some people have thought that too, which has been strange. Like, are you a hippie just trying to get laid? I'm like, no.
Just
Um,
living, experiencing life.
yeah, I think we've talked about it, like, um, the wildfire concept,
Yeah,
right? So, like, meeting with people and just having the conversations that I'm meant to have, knowing too that, like, I will be gone. So, in a way, that's like freeing for people because they can drop their mask and just be themselves. And that's happened a few times where it's like, oh, I feel like I can finally be my authentic self and not perform, because I'm on a date or whatever.
yeah,
Um, but at the same time, this concept of, I don't know, people, this online world has warped a lot of things for us, which is kind of sad. I have a lot of thoughts happening in my head right now, and I don't know like what to say exactly. Kind of with this whole comment section, right? Like, there's a separation of humanity that happens online, and you think that like you can pick and choose and customize and create your own experience because you can online. But it's not the same in real life. Like, when you meet people, especially like dating, right? And like trying to find a deep connection, um that's not how it works at all. And like, you really have to get to the depth of yourself if you want to meet somebody on that same level. And the internet doesn't do that at all. So like, if this is all you're focused on, it's a very shallow experience, much like Hinge is in general. So like, while I'm on there sometimes to meet people here and there, I'm in no way actually using it for finding a connection because they just aren't there. The people that are on our level are not there. Like,
yeah.
they don't understand themselves at all. They say they do and they present like they do, but then you actually like catch them and they like don't know what to do with themselves. So there's been a lot of interesting things.
You sent me that what was it? It was like a molecular structure about like love and like letting people feel authentic love. You know what I'm talking about? And I think that was another thing that you sent me in the text and I was like, I want to hear your interpretation of this like through your voice. Because you were saying that because you are such a big glowing energy ball, right? And like you just come and you spread love, and a lot of people have never experienced anything like that before, and you're not doing it to catch them, you're not doing that to like reel them in, hey, come be mine now. It's just who you are. So is that what you were talking about with letting people drop their mask and be their authentic self? Is that what you're saying, that that gives them access to do, or was it something different?
So I'll tell you one specific example because I think it'll make more sense. I met a person in Sioux Falls, and dating apps in general have seemed to make people very jaded. Um, there's this concept of like, here's what I like, here's what my life is, and I want somebody to fit into all of these boxes perfectly so that I can continue to live my exact life that I've been living, but
Yeah.
now with somebody in addition to that. And that's not how it works.
Hmm.
Um, you want a robot,
Yeah.
right? Like, you want AI at that point. I mean,
Right.
turn on the computer and carry it around with you.
Yeah.
But an actual living, breathing person is going to have a variety of emotions, a variety of interests, and whatever.
Hmm.
So, in that same vein, it seems like the women that men are meeting aren't fully present either. Like, neither party is kind of fully present. So, I have a tendency when speaking in conversation to hold very deep eye contact. It's a
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
Um, And people tell me that this allows them to feel trust and to be vulnerable and to like share things that maybe they wouldn't have otherwise, because they feel like I'm not going to judge them and I'm going to hear them out and it's going to be okay. And like there's a level of safety there. And this is what I've been told from a variety of people in my life throughout, women and men. And it's very powerful. And it's an expression of love, right? Like holding space for somebody to be their authentic self, no matter how they sound or what how you might like understand what they're saying or not saying. That's an expression of love. That's like unconditional love. And that's not like a I want you in my pants kind of love. That's just love.
Yeah,
There's a
I
lot of
respect
different
you as a
expressions of
human.
love.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So this person in Sioux Falls, initially, we got along on like spiritual stuff, and like I'm always share like it's hard for me to
Teaching.
find someone who's on the same plane as I am with that
Yes.
stuff, which is
Yeah.
fine. But he was at least like open to hearing about it and had his own interests in it as well. So the first time we met, it like went really well, and he's like, "Oh, it's so nice to find somebody who like I can talk to like this on a deep level, whatever." And then we saw each other another time. Um, and initially, we were actually on opposite sides of like the political spectrum.
Mhm.
And the election was that day. So he kind of was really heated about what had just happened and how he felt about it.
Mhm.
And for a while, he really just needed to vent. Like, it wasn't even about me at all. Like, I could have been anybody. I was just like sitting there and he wanted to just, share his feelings. But the fact that like once we got to a point of like me responding and him realizing that we have opposite viewpoints, we somehow were able to mitigate that, whereas normally it would cause a very emotional eruption and then we would split.
Right.
Somehow we were able to hold through that conversation and keep talking.
Mhm.
And weirdly enough, that like allowed him to go deeper into his emotions and then share more. And then I just like kind of I'm not going into this like anymore, to be honest, searching for a mate, because you don't find a mate when you search,
Mhm.
period. Like, that's probably the biggest thing. Don't go
Yeah.
looking for somebody. Just fucking be, and they will find you.
Yeah.
And usually everybody finds their person where they're like, I didn't want men anymore at all. I was like, fuck you guys. And then they're like, and then he came.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. So this whole concept of like searching for your mate is backwards altogether. So I'm not going into these meetings searching for someone. I'm like, oh, I'm going to love you. I'm
Mhm.
just meeting people and being my authentic self and leading with love. And it like, so pretty much he went from being politically venting to sharing about his family to then getting really vulnerable about like his issues with dating and like inability to find somebody, nearly cried at one point,
Yeah.
and then eventually was like, thank you for like this time. It's kind of upsetting that you're leaving in a few days. And I was like, why isn't this more common? Like, I'm not doing anything special, you know? Like, I'm
You're just
just
not
holding space.
fucking retaliating when someone says something that you disagree with.
Why is that so unique? You know what I mean? Like, more of us should lead with that, lead with the
Mhm.
heart, like without the expectation of like what can I get out of this person, but like just being in the present and enjoying the time that you're spending together, regardless of what's going to come out of it, you know?
I think a lot of that comes from insecurity, right? Because a lot of people do go into these interactions thinking, I'm here to meet my mate. I'm here to find the thing that's going to complete me. And that means that I'm not complete in myself. So I have to meet them on a certain level. I have to like make sure that I'm acting the way that they're going to be attracted to me and all that stuff. Um, so that, I mean, it's that's what I think. It just comes from insecurity. And then the same when you were talking about how you just allowed him to have a different view than you. You didn't judge him. You held the space for him, and then he was able to get deeper. I was thinking of, I just went on a political rant on my channel the other day. And that was something that I was afraid to open up about because I feel like I am on the opposite spectrum of most of the spiritual community. I have positioned myself in this community as a teacher, and so I was afraid to speak out and then have my students be like, "Oh my God, you don't care about anybody." But and I guess the way that I did it, right? I did it on a live stream, so I didn't have any retaliation. I could have had comments come in to like disagree with me, but no one disagreed with me. No one, or if they did, they didn't like yell at me about it. I was only receiving love and support, and my followers were like, "Hell yeah, for you taking a stand and speaking up for what you feel." And I guess I was purposefully not doing it in a way where I'm telling other people what to think. I was just voicing my opinion and how I got to where I feel that way. But it did feel like my audience was holding space for me to just process my emotions. So for me, it did happen on an internet level, but that's a community that I've been crafting for years, right?
Yeah.
So they are my people, but I can see how much value that holds for someone like that dude. If he's a normal dude, most people don't have friends that you can say an opposing view and they just sit there and listen and say, okay, tell me more, right? How did that make you feel when you disagreed with that person? It's so easy to help people. Like you just have to be accepting and then you help people. There's no effort needed on that. I think that's pretty cool.
Well, just friendship too, I feel like is kind of a backwards concept in America. Like it's not genuine friendship. Like it's pretty rare where you can go to your friend and like share whatever and then they'll just hear you and then like you'll keep being friends. Like now it's become we're either in agreement about everything or like,
Fuck you.
and
Yeah.
like what is that?
Yeah.
And it's therapy. Like being able to fully vocalize your thoughts and be accepted is therapy. Like you don't need a therapist at that point. If you have a genuine friend or two that will just hear you out and let you process your emotions, there you go. That's therapy. But for some reason people don't do that anymore. Um it's a very
Insecurity.
strange.
It's
Yeah.
threatening, right? If they hear something that's opposite of what their belief is, it threatens their belief. So then they have to attack. I think that comes from insecurity of the self. Th-
Just an unknowing of self also.
yeah,
'Cause
right.
people rather numb than get to know, like, why do I feel this way? I actually so in your rant, you spoke about, like, uh, if something really like, bothers you, that's something that you're passionate about.
Hmm.
And I actually love that concept because 1000%, like, if something is causing you pain, you need to look at that and
Hmm.
understand, like, what is that? And how can I focus my life around this? Because if it's causing me this much issue, just like I have this whole thing about dreams, right? Like I did a ton of research about dreams, learned about them, and it's the same concept in dreams. Dreams are essentially your subconscious processing the last 24 to 48 hours of your life. So if you are having a nightmare, that's something your subconscious is just like, pay attention to me, please.
Hmm.
Same in the waking world. If something is aching at you, like we have a range of emotions for a reason. We're not meant to just be happy 24/7. So if
Hmm.
you're sad, if you're mad, good. Why?
Yeah.
Like that's an awesome thing to be able to feel sad and then kind of understand why do I feel sad? What can I do about it? Yeah.
Mami Onami, that radical teacher that I follow, who had a very traumatic upbringing, she teaches to run towards the pain. So she grew up in a sex cult, and like a lot of those people ended up either killing themselves or overdosing and dying. And she just did a soft white underbelly interview, and the guy asked
Oh,
her
nice.
like, yeah, it was pretty dope. Check it out. The interviewer asked her what makes you different than all those people who didn't make it. And she said they all spent their lives running away from the pain. They all tried to numb themselves to go away from it. And she's like, I noticed patterns in her own life. So she turned around, she looked at the pain, and she said, what the hell happened? What can I do with this? So
Yeah,
I
100%.
completely forgot what we were talking about.
It's okay. It all flows. It's kind of how we've always talked.
What has been I don't know, do you want to talk about it? I was just intuiting asking what was the hardest part so far? Like what's been the hardest thing about traveling by yourself so far?
Um, I think it's like more annoying things. Like using the restroom is probably the most annoying thing.
Tell me more. What do you
Well,
mean?
you're in a car, so you need to find other places to go to the restroom. It's just something you don't think about when you're in a house,
Yeah,
you know?
traveling to relieve your bladder.
Yeah, or holding your bladder till
Yeah.
you can get somewhere. It's just like something you don't think about when you're in a house. You're just like 2 feet from a bathroom at all times.
Right. You know what I thought
Um,
about? Your fridge. Like what are you eating? What kind of food are you
mm,
eating? Do you have a cooler? Like what are you doing? Do you eat out all
so
the time?
no, it's kind of a combination. So I have things that store well,
Mhm.
and it's also cold outside. So it's like a fridge all the time, you know? Like it's 38 degrees outside. Like food's fine. So things that like store well, or as well as like dairy products that um are like okay getting like, but they're outside. They're in 30 some degrees. So like cottage cheese is a big one because it'll store for like a few days and I eat it. And then like macro bars and which is a lot of just like good nutritional stuff. I've tried a variety of stuff, but it's kind of a mix between my fridge in the car that's just like on world temperature
Uh-huh.
and eating like out. And then I generally go in the morning and get coffee and some kind of food. But it really hasn't been that much of an issue, honestly. And I don't like feel the need to cook. So I've been eating much more like raw, like not like preparing a whole meal, but eating like the pieces, if that makes sense. Which
Mhm.
I kind of used to eat like that anyways. Like I've always been a fairly I guess it's like a bland diet, but like it's very just eat what you want to eat instead of like sauces and spices and all the, and like a multi-layer cake of flavors. Like it's just very basic, but it's been working well.
That's kind of nice. Do you know what your human design digestion type is?
It's eating while doing things, whatever that one is.
I can't remember. Because there is one where you thrive on eating individual ingredients one at a time. So I was curious if that was, but it's not. But yeah, that's right. Active. Is it active versus inactive?
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
active eating or something. Cause like I, there's like the Buddhist concept of like you have to sit down and focus on chewing and eating your food. And I'm like the opposite of that. Like it
Yeah.
works better if I'm doing something and eating. My body processes it better.
Same. I'm indirect digestion, so I process best when I eat in indirect sunlight, so like early in the morning or late at night. So I don't even care. I just eat giant dinners right before bed and I feel great. This sweatshirt is driving me nuts. I feel like I look like I have a fupa, but I'm actually really trim right now.
You don't look like you have a fupa.
I'm staring at myself in the video. This is me being vain. I'm turning vain.
That's how it is though with video.
Mhm. Because you're staring at yourself. If we were just having a conversation, I'd have no idea, you know? Speaking of videos and media, you're going ham on social media, and I don't know if it's because I've been on social media like more now than I have been, but every time I open Instagram, it's like a new place, and you're in a new spot, and you have all these new photos. How has your audience been reacting to your travels? Have you noticed any kind of difference? Like, are people intrigued by you? Because when me and Matt took that 2.5 week trip, even everyone I shared anything with, they were like, you're living the dream of so many people. And I'm like, I guess, but like Vicky's actually doing it. So have you noticed anything like that?
Um, I have, but
Mhm.
I also my Instagram I set to private for a reason. Like I know like you asked me to share that post to
Yeah,
public and I was like, eh. So
sure.
it's limited to people who actually care about me, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
like there's a bit less of like the hate or whatever cuz like on my art page, I posted something about like the scavenger hunt that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um, and somebody like went out of their way to just shit on it, and I was like, you like go somewhere else. Um, but also like, any famous person tells you that if you're getting hate comments, that means you're getting famous. I just don't want to be famous. I don't want it. I just want to do what I want to do and be left alone. Um, a lot of people, so there's been a variety of responses. A lot of people give me something like, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. And I'm like, don't be jealous. Like, there's pros and cons to everything. Just because I'm posting the highlight reel of like pretty places, you also don't get, like, I'm not posting
When I'm crying because
the
I'm
not
lonely.
so pretty places,
Yeah.
or like the not so pretty aspects of it.
Yeah.
But that's how life is. Like, no matter what your situation is, there's going to be good and there's going to be bad. There's nothing in life that's always going to be good or always going to be bad. Like, it's always both. Um, but yeah, I feel like there's a lot. Anytime I post something that's like, oh, I kind of feel sad, people are like, don't feel sad. You're going to look back at this and you're living out the dream. And this is going to be something you're going to remember forever. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But at the same time, I'm sad right now. And that's okay. And I'll be fine tomorrow. But today I'm sad. Um, but yeah, lots of, you know, a lot of people I didn't expect reaching out that I was like, "Oh, you're a friend of mine on Facebook. I didn't realize," like that. Yeah, but it's
Interesting.
been good. Mostly support. I don't think I've had anybody be like, you know, negative. Everybody's just kind of. A lot of people say, "Let us live vicariously through you," that kind of a thing.
Yeah. And I mean, that feels great because I'm sure, like, that's kind of where a lot of us start is we look to our role models on social media, right? Oh, look at this person, look at the life that they have. And while I know that it's not like I'm not seeing every part of their life, it's like, well, I want to aspire to some of these things that they have. So let me live vicariously through them, watch them do XYZ. So, like, that is serving a purpose. You're doing something that not
Yeah,
everyone has the ability to do, or the courage, or the self security to do, you know?
yeah. I don't think a lot of people could live like this.
Why do you say that?
Like, the, especially like city people who are used to living in very clean, pristine, OCD, you know, apartments or whatever, and like everything is in its place. Nothing is ever dirty. You clean every day. Like, there's just, it's a level of organized chaos, and like you have to be okay with that. Especially with a dog too. Like, she's clean and we keep it clean, but it's never going to be like an apartment that you have a cleaning lady and comes by every week, and keeps it spotless. Like, it's never going to be like that.
Hmm.
Also, like, um brushing your teeth in the morning out of the car, like, that's a certain level of savage that you're just like okay with. Like, it's a feral type of life in a way, like it's not
Yeah.
prim and proper and everything's taken care of. So it's psychologically different, and I think I'm very strong mentally. This
Yeah.
has made me even more strong mentally.
Yeah.
uh the walk back from that hot spring, that was a fucking trip.
I bet cold being freezing cold.
Did you
Or
see my post this morning about it? I
I
kind of like,
I just went through the first like two pictures.
okay, well, I wrote it out. So like by the time I was ready to leave this hot spring, and I wasn't there that long, the sun was setting. And the sun sets really fast. And it's
Yeah.
a 4-mile hike.
Oh my god.
So it's an over an
You're a
hour
trouser.
hike
Yeah.
by myself in the forest with no signal. My phone was at 10% battery. I didn't have a light. I did not prep for hiking in the dark. So it's just a mental challenge to not freak out. So like the whole time you're walking, and like I was kind of running in certain places because it was downhill, and I was wearing these dumbass fucking heeled shoes, and I was like slipping and rolling over my ankles and stuff.
Mm.
But you have to just keep yourself, like, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. Because what are you gonna do? You're gonna stop in the middle of the forest and just cry?
Yeah.
No. like I'm gonna just keep going. And like my feet hurt and this hurts and that hurts. And so it's a mental exercise. So then if I can handle that,
What else can I handle? Right.
I can handle anything.
We had a similar experience in the Ozarks. And I guess I did have support, right? I had my fucking grown up Boy Scout Matt with me. But we were hiking at the Ozarks and then we got sidetracked because, okay, so at the Ozarks, there was this place called Pedestal Rock. And so there's all these rock formations and you're like up on pedestals and there's like ones that you can like hop in between, there's cracks in between them. It's pretty cool. And then at one point we saw that we could like go down and Matt wanted to go explore the caves that are underneath these pedestals. So then we spent some time exploring the caves. And that was a moment also where he's like, now I don't look like an idiot for carrying a flashlight with me 24/7 because that definitely came in handy during the cave tour. And then we noticed that like the sun was about to go down, and he's like, "We should probably head back." And I was like, "We have a flashlight." So then we kept exploring, just for like 20 more minutes. And then we started hiking back, and it was the same thing. We didn't have service where we were. And then the sun went down and it got dark real fast, and it felt very Blair Witch. And there were not necessarily like trail markers on the way. But then, here, like, if I was by myself, much like you, I would have just figured it out, right? We're going to be fine. Just keep going. You'll figure it out. You'll be fine. But it was really nice that, like, he has his GPS watch and he had started a trail when we first got there, so he was able to like see the route on his watch, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we go this way." um and it was nice, and I could see the benefit of like being prepared and like bringing those kinds of things with you. But I think that we're savvy enough that you don't necessarily need all that stuff all the time. So yeah, it's nice to have, but you're making it without that kind of stuff, right? Have you bought a survival kit yet? You got your pocket knife?
I do have knives. Yeah,
Well,
I actually carried my knife at one point because I was like, yeah, just in case. um, but the whole trail thing, I actually do that too, and that comes in handy because there was a moment like towards the end where I was like, there was a bridge over there. I don't remember if I needed to cross it or not, and I was like, oh shit, what if I'm actually going the wrong way right now and I'm like running
mm,
out of just energy and fuel because I hadn't eaten, I didn't bring any food or water or anything. I like ate in the morning and that was it. It was just dumb. But in a way, like I just like kind of like raw dogging hikes, like I'm gonna
mhm.
make it anyways. But there are certain precautions that I put into place just in case. Cause like getting lost and feeling that like, oh shit, that gets you. So I try to avoid feeling that way and then it's okay.
I think it's interesting that there are so many people out there who would just completely avoid hiking because they hear a story like
So
this and then
many.
they're like, "I don't wanna be in that predicament ever." But that's how you just keep yourself weak and powerless, right? You have to
So
challenge
many.
yourself. Yeah.
I remember so many women in the hiking group like, "Oh, I would never go out by myself." And I'm like, but also men too, like, "Oh, I would never go explore anywhere because I don't have somebody to do it with." And it's like,
So you're gonna spend your whole
what?
life waiting?
It's so dumb. I like for anybody who's listening who cares, like go do stuff by yourself. It's awesome. You can pause and look at a tree for 10 minutes if you want, or you can go read a book at a stream or whatever. Like, go to a circus and spend extra time at this one thing that you really liked, but nobody else might like. And, like, you don't have to worry about them and their opinions or interests or needs. You just are there for yourself, and it's wonderful.
How has Rari been adapting to the travel lifestyle?
She's so good.
Yeah.
But also, like, a lot of people have been bringing this up to me, and I think that it's a valid point, but like, this dog went through like a whole life restructuring essentially. Like she went from spending a good amount of her life crated because she had issues with the other dogs and we would leave, and like she spent her whole life in the house because like most dogs do, right? Like they don't go and travel the United States. And
Mhm.
now all of a sudden she's been to this environment and these smells and these experiences, and like so like her whole world has just expanded infinitely. um and she's a completely different dog because she's very, very smart. She needs that mental stimulus. So for her to like just sit and do nothing, it drives her insane, like most people, right?
Mhm.
But for her to go and have all these new experiences, she's so calm and like happy and nice and cool. Like I'm still kind of weary about her with people or dogs, but that's more of a me thing than a her thing. Like I think if I'm gonna start kind of introducing her back into certain situations. But she's great. Like she will sit in the car and sleep while I drive. Like she's not whining about it. If she needs something, she lets me know. Um, we have like a whole language at this point. And then we cuddle at night. She's like a whole human. It's great. So much heat. My own personal vibrating heater. It's fantastic. Vibrating meaning snoring.
That's awesome, and because I know that you've always loved Rari so much, but she was that wild card, and it sounds like she just needed a little bit more stimulation.
Yeah.
It's very
How's
nice.
Mr. Piston and how was your travels outside of Matt being a man?
That helped a lot, it was actually so comfortable. It was so easy. And honestly, like you asking me that question after you talking about traveling by yourself, like I felt a little guilty. Like, yeah, I just had a partner to like help me do all these things. And it was really nice because he did half the work, I did half the work. But we did have a travel trailer, so he was the one who would make sure that like the trailer was hooked up correctly and that he was like checking the battery levels and the tank levels and all that stuff all the time. I really got to just like relax and be and do what I wanted to do. Um, like that was honestly probably the first time in my life that I didn't have to be anywhere on time at a certain date. Like we had a general plan of where we wanted to go, and we hit two out of like the seven destinations that we had on our list. But then each day we'd kind of play it by ear and say, okay, well, what direction do you want to head today? And then even some of those times we'd be heading in a direction and then we saw a sign and he's like, oh my God, we have to go there. So we derailed and went there. And the freedom of not having to know, like, we have to be here on this day and all this stuff, like, the just letting go of all those obligations felt super freeing. And I think, okay, so I've gone back and forth with this whole mindset of it as well because when I set out on that trip, I vowed like I'm going to bring my social media following with me. Like I'm going to carry my phone when I go on walks so I can take pictures of stuff and whatever. And that's not me. Every time I leave my house, I leave my phone at home as often as possible because I don't want to be connected. Like that's my time to just shut the fuck up. Don't talk to me. um and I did find it like fun to take pictures of things because I used it as work. Like, what would people want to see at the Grand Canyon? What would people want to see in Arizona? So that was fun, and I did enjoy. Like Matt drove the whole time, and so that's when I worked. I would sit on my phone and I would schedule my YouTube posts and I would schedule my Instagram posts and everything. And it felt comfortable. It was something that I could see myself sustaining. Like it gave me something to do while he was driving. But then when I got home, I got back into my real life that I have created for myself, and it was a very uncomfortable transition. I knew I'm like, I'm done with this. I'm done being stuck. I'm done working on time. Like, I really want to. I brought this up at Thanksgiving yesterday, and my two sisters looked at me like I was retarded. And but I told them that I want to not have to deal with time anymore. I was like, I'm done with time. I'm done with appointments. I don't want to work that way anymore. And they looked at me like, okay, Jacqui, like, oh, well, watch me. But that kind of hit me a lot when I got home that I had to be somewhere on time, and it sucks, and I don't want to do it. So then I wrap my head around like, okay, well, this travel lifestyle seems so glamorous on social media, but my followers don't know what kind of trees are in this neighborhood. My followers don't know like what it looks like for Piston to go for his first walk in the snow this year. So I kind of started to wrap my head around the idea that people maybe do care about my life a little bit. Because I've never been someone to like post my daily activities on social media. But then when I had this like exuberant, oh, I'm traveling the country, look at this, like I can make that same type of excitement in my day to day life. So I think that kind of shifted how I think about social media. But yeah, the trip in itself was amazing. It completely affirmed that yes, I do want to live on the road. Of course, it was uber helpful to have a competent adult man who knows what he's doing with all of this, right? Like he obviously made my life that much easier. But I know that I can do it by myself if I have to. Um, I think you and I are very similar like that. We're like, if there's something that we're presented with, we're gonna figure out how to do it. Like, we're not gonna cry in the middle of the forest because we can't figure it out. If I have the option to have a partner, I would love to have a partner, but I know that there's sometimes that I'm gonna have to go do it on my own, and that's totally cool. So I've been working with my own like manifestation practices, like just ways that I'm aligning with. I know that this is the road that I'm walking down. I know that this is what my future is. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm going to keep like focusing my energy on getting to that point because it's meant for me.
Nice. That's awesome.
It was great. I'm actually going back to Sedona in a couple weeks. My friend works for an airline company and he is able to take his friends places for free. So I was like, hey, bro, I want to go buy a Native American flute in Sedona. Do you want to go to Sedona with me? And he's like, hell yeah, I love hiking in Arizona. So we're just going to go for like 2 days. I'm going to go find a Native American flute. And then I really want to start bringing music back into my life. It's been calling me for a really long time. Um, Other things have been happening with my dad. Like my dad is calling, right? I had a reading with Max, the astrologer, and towards the end of it, he's like, Jacqui, your dad is like screaming. He's like, don't forget about me. Bring me with you. So that kind of stuff. And then you know what happened at Theoso Fest with my dad. My dad was a big musical role in my life. So I started playing his guitar a couple weeks ago, and then the flute class came up, and I'm like, it's time to just bring music back. So the trip changed my trajectory of life, I guess. And that was only in 2.5 weeks. Oh no, I think I lost you. I'm just gonna fill airspace until you come back. So I pulled out my dad's guitar and I was playing that a little bit. And he also left me one of his basses, one of his electric basses, but I don't have an emotional connection to this bass. So I think I'm gonna get myself a new bass. I don't know if I can like trade this one in at Guitar Center or whatever and get a different one, but I have the plan to just start noodling around and recording it and putting it together and see what happens. Sharing musical notes on the interweb and all of that. And actually, one of my friends, um, oh, well, we lost Vicky. I'll finish the story and then I'll hop off. One of my friends who I met through the ecstatic dance community, he's a very quirky, interesting guy, and he just has these radical ideas. And so we're going to get together tomorrow. And I was like, cool, what do you have in mind? What do you want to do? Because all of my friends are old ladies. So we either sit around and chat like this, we go for hikes, or we grab coffee. And I wanted to do something different. So tomorrow, I'm gonna. Hi, I was just blabbing on a story while you got lost.
My phone overheated.
Oh, bogus.
Yeah, I'm turned off. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to keep it on, but I will try.
That's okay. And we're coming up on an hour. I think we might end it at an hour just to keep it watchable. But I was just in the middle of telling a story about David from Ecstatic Dance, the curly hair kid that you know. Um,
Yeah,
he and I are going to record a rap song tomorrow. We were,
he's not bad. I feel like I've heard some of his music and it's not bad.
yeah, he's
So
been producing his own music for quite a while. And he wanted to hang out, and I was like, I don't know, give me an idea. He's like, let's record a rap song. Okay, so we'll do that.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I was just blabbing about my musical life changes that have occurred since I got back from the trip.
Good. Yeah.
But
Sorry, I had to wait for my phone to. In a little. Okay.
where are you?
In a parking lot.
Okay, I'm just curious why someone's asking you if you're gonna leave. Are you? Oh, are they trying to take your spot? Is it like a full parking lot?
No, he's parking perpendicular with like
Mm,
a bunch of spots. Cool.
you're good.
Yeah,
So
anywho.
I don't want to ask you like what would you do differently because that's how you are. You're going to adapt, right? I'm sure you had a semi mental plan of what you thought you would need and you've shifted. But I guess we can wrap this up by saying like what's been the most surprising thing that you didn't expect? Like what kind of things have come up that you completely didn't expect to come up while you've been traveling in your car? Or has it all just been easy breezy beautiful?
Here's the thing about me. I'm like a hyper resilient person,
Yeah.
so things really don't bother me. Like it takes I think you know from like the stories that I've been through, like it takes a lot to get me out of my element, and even then I'm like fucking let's go, like it's fine. So, I don't know if I have that. Like I'm kind of here
Even
for all
any
of it, like the
even
good and bad, you
anything
know.
that you were just like, "Oh, I wouldn't have thought about that." I don't know, I guess not. Has anyone come and knocked on your window?
No, last night though, like I was this was probably the weirdest thing that's happened so far. And this is going to make all these commenters very happy for some goddamn reason. Um some so I was boondocking on the side of a mountain, which was a very cool spot actually, very cool like overview of the city, and there's a
Mhm,
lot of pollution here. Just in the air, which I'm noticing. But somebody walked by at like 10:30 at night, which like there's no one else was really around me that I knew. So this was a very random person to be walking by, and they were playing that like SNL song that's like it's very dirty. It's very much like inappropriate lyrics about like making love in the most
vulgar
savage
way?
terms. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, that's a weird thing to hear out of nowhere by yourself in a car, and I'm like, why are they here and why is that what they're playing? So that was probably the weirdest, but generally like people leave me alone and no one's even come like remotely close to freaking me out in that sense. And I don't know, like I normally don't look like this. I'm like pretty today. I normally look purposely invisible, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm not trying to call attention to myself. I'm not trying to get people to talk to me. Like, I want to blend in, leave me alone, let me go from place to place, you
Mhm.
know. Yeah. So, yeah. I
I
don't know.
wonder
I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah.
I mean, it does, and I wonder if that might have been your subconscious bringing up something that it's time to address, right? Like, if it brought up a feeling in you, I don't know what I'm getting at. I'm talking about my float tank story. Remember when I went to my first float tank and the whole time I was there, just like, how is that creepy guy at the front desk watching me right now? Like, that was the whole hour that I was trying to figure out in my head, and then, like, no, stop it. You're here. It's okay.
Yeah. I kind of thought about the fact that like if it was actual danger, Rari would start barking and this person would go away. Just like if Piston started barking, like I don't think anybody's gonna try to break into the car with like
Right.
a live big ass animal that they don't know. So I mean if you do, I would be shocked. And I'd
Yeah.
be like, oh shit, this person is not normal. But yeah. There's kind
Can
of
you
more to that I can tell you outside of a live.
okay. Can you end with telling us the story of that guy that took a picture of you?
Oh yeah. So at the Badlands in South Dakota. If you ever have a chance to go, I highly recommend it. Holy crap, it's beautiful. It looks like a different world, different planet. I don't even know. But I was standing in this like vast open crater space, and I was standing at the edge of a rock, and some guy and his family, it was like a man, a woman, and their daughter, were kind of on the edge of it a little ways away from me. And as I was walking back, he like yelled out of nowhere. He's like, "Hey, do you have an iPhone?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Can I airdrop this picture I just took of you?" And I was like, "Yeah? What do you mean? You just caught like a picture of me in front of this vast canyon? Like, heck yeah." So the one random interaction with a stranger was like so nice, and that's happened throughout this trip. Multiple people have offered to like give me housing, and I don't want it, but they offer anyways. They've offered a variety of things, and I'm like, thank you so much. Like I don't need it, but that's very kind of random strangers to like try to help. Um, yeah, there's been more care and like interest from a positive place than like a creepy weird place.
That gives me a lot more hope for humanity. I've always had like a nice view of humanity. I do believe that everyone has a good heart, but like hearing a first life experience from someone that I actually know, like that makes me feel so much better about our country and maybe where we're headed, right?
For sure, for sure. And again, like online, it's very different than in real life. And I think that when people see you in person and talk to you in person, it's a whole different experience than like this. Because I promise you, half these commenters, if you were standing in front of me, you would not say any of the things you just have been writing. Um, I dare you.
I haven't even read any. I don't even know if I'm going to go back and read them. I'm glad that we did this on YouTube though, because I know that my audience will be watching this, and I know that they will value you for the heart and soul and beautiful human that you are. So yeah, thanks for coming on and doing this on the internet with me, because I know that this is going to inspire a lot of people to just make one step in their life that'll make them feel more proud of themselves, more bold, and able to go do something that might be scary. So.
Yeah, I love that. Definitely go do the scary thing. It stops being scary real fast.
I love that. Okay, I love you. I'll text you about like talking or whatever because I want to hear more. All
Okay, love you.
right, love
Bye.
you. Bye.